Nvidia stock is down nearly 10% from its 52-week high, as the company did see some form of sell-off in the past 2 days. On today's episode, what I want to do is take a closer look at an acquisition that Nvidia has recently made. We're also going to take a closer look at insider selling, price targets, and more importantly, there is a semiconductor company out there that I want to say investors should definitely keep a closer eye on, in forms of there might be a little bit more risk than maybe some investors think. So maybe want to keep away. Let's talk about it in today's episode.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so the first thing I want to take a closer look at is if you open up X or if you open up any platform, you can see that there are a lot of talks of insiders selling their shares in the past week or so, when Nvidia kind of saw this nice peak of $140 post-split. And one of those persons that has been selling for the past few days has been Jensen Huang, which is the CEO of Nvidia. Now, I think insider selling is not a bearish sentiment, but it could give us some ideas, right? So we can see Jensen Huang in the past 7 days has sold over 400,000 shares. You may be like, Jose, wow, that is a crazy amount of shares. But then when you compare it to the amount of shares that he holds over 81 million, 400,000 isn't really that much. So for me, insider selling by Jensen Huang is not necessarily a bearish thesis. Now, we also do have other kind of officers or directors selling shares, and pretty much most that are sharing are in the similar boat as Jensen Huang, where they are selling a small portion of their overall position. Now, I think this kind of opens up maybe an opportunity where it's like, hey, look, even insiders wouldn't mind taking some profits and wouldn't mind solidifying some gains. So this is why I believe if maybe you might be, and I've talked about this in the past, maybe if you have been a shareholder of Nvidia for numerous years and you're up over 10x, then obviously at the end of the day it's your money, but I would never call it dumb for someone to lock in some gains. I would never sell 100% of my portfolio, but I wouldn't mind selling 5-10% of my portfolio if I wanted to kind of, hey, eliminate some of the risk, lock in some of the gains, as I know I still have plenty of position in Nvidia, especially if one has overexposure. Before we go any further, we are now on the road to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Thank you all for the crazy support. So if you haven't and are enjoying the content, make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. Finally, if you want to support the channel a little bit more, make sure to check out my special offer at fool.com/Jose. Now back to today's episode. Now, the second thing I want to take a closer look at is there are reports that Nvidia did make an acquisition of a company called Shoreline. So if we Google it real quick, we can see Nvidia to acquire Shoreline.io for $100 million. And I decided to check out the website. So Shoreline.io, it seems like it's a company that here we can see Shoreline for CPUs, Shoreline for GPUs. So if we go to Shoreline for GPUs, they have this product which they mention is an automation and proactive break fix workflows to improve the throughput and reduce latency from one GPU or thousands of GPUs. So what this pretty much looks like it's doing is it's making sure that, hey, look, if you have a GPU, you don't have errors building up and creating and making this GPU worthless because you have to fix what's happening. There's some error out there. So it's going to help with the utilization rate of these GPUs. And this is very important, right? Because GPUs, if they're not working, they're pretty much dead money. And the more utilizations that you're using with them, the more they're working, the more money you're making, especially for cloud service providers. So I can see this being a big thing for Nvidia, where the actual acquisition is not necessarily something that should drive stock price, and this product is not necessarily something that should drive stock price, but it's an added effect or an added benefit to using Nvidia's hardware, as they're gonna make sure that you, the customer, are always able to have high utilization rate and high And those GPUs are making money for you, because then Nvidia can say, hey, look, yes, our GPUs are more expensive, but we do have this solution that can help you make sure that your GPU is always running and your GPU is always making money for you. So in the long term of things, you're gonna be making more money even though we have a higher cost of entry. And I think this is very important as NVIDIA is getting into creating these systems, right? Like the GP200 NVL72, which is pretty much a huge system within itself, multiple GPUs in this, multiple CPUs in this. The last thing you want is a customer having one of their GPUs, one of their CPUs, multiple of their GPUs not working, because then they spent $3 million on this system and it's pretty much paperweight. And NVIDIA kind of talked a little bit about kind of some of the stuff they're doing with the Blackwell architecture. For example, when the Blackwell was announced, they mentioned that it is going to have a RAS engine, which is a dedicated engine for reliability, availability, and serviceability, which is going to make sure to help with running diagnostic, forecast any reliability issues, and it's going to maximize the system's uptime and improve resiliency for massive scale AI deployments to run uninterrupted for weeks or even months at a time, and to reduce cost of operations. So I think this acquisition is just something to build up on that and to be able to provide to their customers something that makes sure that their products are the best. So I think it was a really good acquisition. And we're probably going to see implementations of this through their products in the upcoming years. Now, another great thing that we have here for NVIDIA is we did see Melius Research raise their price target on NVIDIA to 160 from 125 and maintains a buy rating. I believe this happened on Friday or late Thursday. So overall, we continue to see this nice bullish case for Nvidia, even though the stock is declining. Now, the next thing I want to take a closer look at is, I mentioned at the intro that there was a company that I believe investors need to watch out. I personally am kind of keeping out of this one for some time and seeing how things unfold, and that is Applied Materials. So for those that are not familiar with Applied Materials, this is ticker AMAT. It is a company that provides semiconductor equipment solutions for big foundry players. And one thing that has really been impacting the foundry market is export controls, right? We've heard about it from Nvidia, where Nvidia can't send their top AI chips to countries like China. Well, we have similar restrictions here in the semiconductor equipment companies, where semiconductor equipments can't send equipment to China that can help them build these advanced chips, right? So that's a company that Applied Materials. And the reason I bring that up is because in the past few quarters, this company has actually been hit with a lot of inquiries from the United States government. For example, they received multiple subpoenas from government authorities requesting information relating to certain China customer shipments in August 2022 and February 2024. Then in November 2023 and May 2024, they got one from the U.S. Commerce Department Bureau of Industry and Security. And in February 2024, they got one from the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission. So this is one that I think, if you're getting these much requests from all these government entities, there has to be something there. There has to be a reason for the government to be looking out at you. And we have heard that there are reports that this is old news, right? We've kind of heard about it in November of 2023 when they released kind of their recent 10Q at that time. But we are hearing that more and more are coming out. Like we saw, the most recent one was May 2024. We also saw one in February of 2024. So this is something that I think investors should keep an eye out. And if you are an Applied Materials shareholder, something you have to wonder. Because I'm not going to name sources, but there's a lot of people that I follow on Twitter that are very smart in the semiconductor company. And from what I'm reading and from what I'm hearing, that there is maybe some truth behind it, as we've seen reports here that Applied Material has been kind of allegedly sending equipment to Chinese chip maker SMIC without export license. And the Chinese market is a very big portion of Applied Materials revenue. If we take a closer look, I think I might have it highlighted here. Yep, here we go. So China is about 43% of this company's most recent earnings revenue. So it is a big portion of this company's revenue. So sometimes when I see this and then I see a lot of red flags, I'm like, okay, Jose, maybe it might be time to maybe stay away from this company, even though in the year to date, the stock has done amazing, up 52%. In the past year, the stock is up 73%. So this could all just be noise, but why risk it when there's so many other opportunities in the semiconductor equipment company? Now, one thing that really got my attention even more is Applied Materials Insiders sold shares worth about $100 million according to recent filing. And that insider was Gary E. Dickerson, which is the CEO. Now, we talked about Nvidia in early part of this episode, where the CEO also sold a good portion, I think around the same amount of monetary value here. So you might be wondering, Jose, why are you making it a big case for Nvidia, for Applied Materials, but you didn't make it a big case for Nvidia? And if we take a closer look, Dickerson Gary, he sold about 400,000 shares in June 18th of 2024, but he only has now about 1.6 million. So that is a big portion of his total, what he previously owned, right? So he's selling double-digit percentage points of what he owns. Not single digits, not a small portion compared to what he owns, but these are big sales compared to its overall portfolio. So now something like this is what kind of gives me a red flag. So this red flag plus all the other things that we're seeing from the SEC, and obviously the current administration has been really hounding export restrictions, especially in the semiconductor market. I think if there is something here, things could get ugly. Obviously, it could be just noise, and maybe some investors of Applied Materials could say, I don't mind it, because usually the semiconductor equipments kind of follow with something like this. But for me, I think there's too much risk and not enough reward to be in this mess. So I just wanted to share my overall thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Is the insider selling even a more bearish point for Applied Material, or am I seeing too much into it? So take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.